Alright, you guys, so this is going to be a video that people have been kind of asking for, more or less. Basically, people have been asking for more cardio-based workouts. Also, some workouts that kind of work the core or midsection. And maybe even workouts you just want to do incorporate on the off days, where I'll link down below, again, the routine that I follow. But this is a workout you can kind of do on the off days if you kind of want to just get the blood flowing, just do something. And I think it's a nice kind of overall workout. There's a lot of new workouts or new exercises I kind of incorporated this, so I'll kind of talk a little bit about that throughout this video. I can tell you days after this, I definitely felt it in my midsection, even though you're going to see a lot of different body parts used and utilized. But first, before I get into it, as always, it's always very helpful if you guys like the video. Share this video. There's always a lot of new people that I see that are watching. Actually, a lot of the people that watch this channel are just not subscribing. So it's helpful if you guys subscribe if you like this content. Or if you're new, again, I put links down below to all the equipment, the routine that I follow, and I also timestamp all these workouts as well. So you're going to be kind of seeing basically two big circuits. And what I'll do, I'll start off talking about some of these exercises from when they kind of show up again. I think I do about around 4 to 5 sets of this, but notice again, I keep the incline, as I say in a lot of my videos, at the same kind of angle to make it less cumbersome switching between sets. So you definitely could lower this incline to make a lot of these things easier. Notice throughout this whole workout, I have the resistance bands attached below. So if you have a total gym versus a Weider Ultimate Body Works, some total gym models have the resistance bands, some don't, but you can definitely fashion some resistance bands on there depending on the model. You can add more weight to this if you wanted to with external resistance bands like I've done in the past. But basically you're seeing kind of like basically a weighted crunch. So that's where these resistance bands kind of come in handy. And I think I definitely leave these resistance bands on throughout the whole workout. You'll need them again coming up here in a second. I like to kind of create more of like a really focusing the midsection. This is really important because otherwise you can really cheat this with your arms. Notice my arms are moving, but I'm really focusing on my abdominals as far as what's extending and then what's really crunching. So I'm really thinking about my abdominals as I'm doing this. This is a new one that I kind of did. I do a little bit of variation with this, kind of almost like still kind of like a setup. Basically, but you're using a little bit of momentum and you're kind of working your arms a little bit too. Again, keep in mind this whole workout is meant to be kind of fast-paced and kind of chaining exercises together. So I'm also picking exercises that are going to allow you a little bit of break between the exercise before that. But basically, this is kind of like a topper to what the last exercise was. Even as I'm watching this, there's a lot of things you could do to actually even modify this. You could bring your legs up in the air. There's a few things you could do to make this a little bit harder. You could essentially do like a V up. You could extend your legs out. I got that bottom, that little stand there. You could take that off and extend your legs out and then kind of come up in like a V as you're doing this. That's something that would be pretty good. So now this is the exercise I started with the sequence when I first started the video. And this is a little bit different. What I'm doing here is just basically doing little squats. These are meant to be kind of purposefully not that low and just kind of working the quads. I'm doing this for high repetition, like 20 repetitions, just to kind of basically get the heart rate up a little bit, working the legs obviously a little bit, but I'm really not focusing on trying to get like a deep squat like I was in previous videos. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. I'm also kind of just, again, pre-exhausting stuff to the next exercise. And in my opinion, after that 20 reps, this kind of feels good. This is the first workout I actually did this kind of lower leg, like just leg raise basically thing. I don't know why I never thought about this before, but it's a good workout. It's a good exercise. I was actually getting tired. I had to like pause a few times, on a few different sets. I tried different ways of extending my legs out. Honestly, I think it's better. I just did it for the sake of the time. I didn't take the squat stand off, even though it takes like a second. I don't know why, but I'd just take that thing off, honestly. That way you can extend straight out and come back up. If this gets too hard, you can just keep your knees flexed and you keep your knees bent and then just slowly, rock down and up with your knees bent. And you can also lower the incline if this gets kind of too tough or too hard to pull it off. And then again, I'm going back into this weighted crunch, and all this stuff kind of looks fairly, easy, I guess, as you watch it, in my opinion. And maybe it's just because I don't do a lot of direct abdominal stuff, and even my workouts typically are a little bit slower in pace. You guys are seeing them edited together, but generally I'm taking my time. I'm messing around on my computer and listening to stuff in the background. So my point is, I was tired doing this workout. I was tired between sets. So you can make this as hard as you want. I actually purposely chose these exercises as a nice kind of entryway for all different ages and abilities with this. I was trying to be somewhat mindful with that as I was selecting these exercises. So definitely you could do this a lot faster. You could add a little more harder exercises with this. But that's kind of the rationale of why I did that. And again, you're going to see this kind of sit up. I think there's a couple of variations you'll see me try in this video. If this gets a little tough on the shoulders, this could be an exercise you might want to omit, or if you're older and you got rough shoulders, you could definitely lower the incline on this one to make it a little bit easier, or just sub it for something else, or you could honestly just take this exercise out completely if you felt like it was, you know, too hard or rough on the shoulders. But with anything, don't grind these things out. I mean, they're not meant to kind of do that, and that's kind of why a lot of my workouts typically are slower paced. But with that said, you see that this video actually goes on for 20 minutes, and my other videos that are actually longer workouts are usually shorter. This just took with just a lot less rest periods, which is why you're seeing that. So I think the end time when I stopped this video was roughly like, it takes about a 30-minute workout ish. Granted, I wasn't going totally straight through, but I was definitely going a lot faster than normal. So I'm gonna stop and pick it back up once the next circuit comes in. I think that's more or less what I kind of had to say. Hopefully you guys listen to all the little details of why I'm kind of doing the things I'm doing. Again, that might not look like a direct abdominal workout, but I'm trying to kind of pace the different angles, and also trying to think about basically getting more of a cardiorespiratory effect out of this. So if you train all this stuff together, you definitely should be definitely getting fairly out of breath, especially when you consider all the sets and the next circuit we're going to incorporate. So again, any questions as you're watching this first circuit, definitely feel free to jump in and ask, but I'll pick it up in a couple minutes when we jump back to the second circuit. Alright, so this is the start of the second circuit, and you'll notice that this is that board, just a skateboard with no wheels on it, that I started using to extend the foot pad out and wrapping it around with bands in previous videos I started playing with. So it was next to me, so I started using it. I realized that everybody's going to have access, nor do I think you're going to buy a skateboard with no wheels on it. There's actually a good alternative to using something like this. It would be, I'll put a link down below. It's these little exercise boards you can stand on. If I didn't have this skateboard, I would recommend buying one of these. You know, I'll flash it on the screen really quick, but I'll put the link down below at Amazon where you can pick one up. That's probably what I would use, because those could withstand a lot more weight on them. You can do a number of other things with it as well. So this is just, you can see the resistance bands are on there. You could think of this kind of like a burpee. You could go into a push-up. I think later on in the other sets, I actually do go into a push-up with this. Even this one has a couple different variations we could do, but this is just, again, something I thought was not too difficult, fairly kind of easy, but still kind of gets the blood flowing, and again, still kind of in that core aspect. Now this is one that looks kind of goofy, maybe, I don't know, but people think of core, they think of the abdominals. In my opinion, the most neglected part of the core, which is anything that attaches to the pelvis and hip and the midsection, would be the upper and mid back or lower back. So basically working on the lower back, make sure your glutes are squeezed, trying to get those little areas in the muscles that are just don't get worked as much. So coming up off the ground as much as you can, bringing your thumbs up, look at the way I'm kind of rotating my hands that direction. That way it pulls your shoulder blades back. And then I'm just doing this little like calf raise thing. It's just, honestly, it is, by the way, it was kind of tough. My calves were kind of like burning a little bit as I was doing this in the beginning. But it just makes it a little more interesting. It kind of takes your mind off holding this position. I do exercise similar to this very often. In fact, I think it's one of the most important exercises for most people to do, just holding up in a Superman position, because we don't work our back as much. I'll get back to that one in a second. This one, I did it one time and then I took it out. So even though this is in the workout, I left it in there to kind of show it to you. I don't have those little pads on the end of the pull-up bars. I actually lost those, or they broke when I first got this many years ago. So that might make this exercise a little better. Honestly, I just felt like there was enough sit-ups that I just didn't like it, so I took it out. Now this one's a little bit different and unique. I'm just keeping a bridge, again, with the same idea. Like, you wouldn't think this is core, but I would count this as core. Anything that attaches to the hips, just working those areas that people don't work as much, just doing a kind of a glute hold. And I've always found that people, especially well, of any age, people can have a hard time just holding a bridge. So again, a little bit more interesting. Instead of just holding a bridge on the ground, I'm just kind of basically making it a little more interesting with holding the board and just doing like a little push-up, extend it out. You might not necessarily even need to have a board, but the board makes it a little bit easier on the distance with the hands, because you could just push off that thing as well. Notice the resistance bands are on there too, the buoy. So this thing's being totally flat. It works out pretty great, just kind of pulling you back in. So just kind of fun, interesting. Again, it looks easy, but when you consider everything all chained together, I think it works out pretty well. I would say definitely be careful with that though. You're gonna err on the side of putting that board a little higher, because I think it hit my head like 1 or 2 times. It wasn't a big deal, or it kind of came off. This is just a cable rotation. I've done this a lot in previous videos where I talked about best core exercises. I usually throw this at a higher incline, but believe it or not, again, just everything else kind of chained together, keeping this a faster paced workout. I wanted the intensity fairly low, so I got the resistance bands set up down below to help me kind of naturally pull me into the side, and I'm just getting a little more reps. I didn't count the reps. I want to say it's maybe around 10 to 15, and as always, I say this a lot, that even when I'm doing this, I usually lose count, so I kind of have to go back to what it is that we're looking at the video afterwards, so they're not always exact. Always recommend people to, whatever side you're rotating to, grab that hand on first as the anchor, and then put the other hand on top. And I like to tell people to have your head rotate with the hand to get a little more rotation. I'll say this, and this goes with anything. If you're someone who's older, or you haven't done a lot of these exercises before, or these ranges of motion, especially considering we're going kind of fast, I would go very slow with this. This would still be a hard workout, and I think for most people, if you just went at a slower pace and was careful about it, because that previous exercise with the cable rotation, you got to be careful. It can aggravate people's backs. My back didn't hurt the day after, but it definitely felt like it was. I haven't done a whole lot of stuff with that, very quickly and fast paced, especially the sit-ups. That for some people that might kind of aggravate your lower back. So my point is, just transition into this stuff kind of slowly. Definitely don't feel like you should kind of jerk these movements or go fast. It's always better with this stuff to kind of ease into it, but it's not uncommon for people to start doing, quote unquote, like ab exercises and then mess up their back. In fact, that's a lot of reasons why I don't like a lot of sit-up type stuff. I think if anything, people are going to aggravate their backs more from doing a lot of sit-ups, especially if they're sitting in chairs all day. You're just increasing that flexion in the lower back, and that can cause some issues. Again, here's that one I was talking about. The main thing you want to focus on, because it's easy to cheat on this one, is making sure your upper back is off the pad as much as possible. Your glutes are squeezed, and making sure your arms are retracted like that, with the thumbs in that direction. You don't want to point your thumbs down, because that's going to kind of enforce that bad posture. But I think this would be for pretty much everyone in the population could benefit from doing something like this, holding a position. So we work those smaller muscles in the upper back that, again, are generally just weaker and kind of more often than not just neglected from sitting in chairs all day. And that's pretty much it. I mean, as far as this is the last circuit that I do, if you notice, again, I change things up again, and think in the next set here, when I do that bridge, which you'll see in a second, I start trying to get kind of fancy with it, which you can do, but I would, again, just be careful, where that board is going to hit. Maybe when it comes up here, I'll show you what I mean. But I started doing things like when I got in this bridge position, you'll see me kind of take one leg off to kind of make it a little bit more difficult. But what I mean is, when you're coming in, basically put the board higher than you think instead of low, because generally I just found that kind of seemed to slip a little bit more. I don't know why. but whatever, you get the pattern of it pretty quickly. So you can see me kind of going on one leg. And the other thing I think I start doing definitely in this next set, when we get to those little like push-up burpee things with the Total Gym or Weider Ultimate Body Works, is that you'll see me kind of go into that push-up when we go to that standing burpee thing. So that's something else you can do. You can do this next one where I do the cable rotation. You notice I'm going on my knees. You could sit on this. If you wanted to go, again, increase the incline, you totally could with all this stuff. So there's tons of different possibilities and things, but I really think that this workout is a nice kind of just perfect thing as far as, again, getting the heart rate going, working your abdominals and midsection. You can do some other things. I'll put more like these out there in the future. I know some people wanted to see some stuff that was really high intensity, things that were just basically a really high intensity workout, really fast paced cardio stuff. I'll definitely do that. It's not something I really like doing. You guys can call me lazy, but I like things that are very simple and results driven. I don't think I said a whole video on that. I don't think you necessarily have to beat yourself up and kill yourself to get certain results. So I will put a video about that in the future, if nonetheless just a reason for me to force myself to do something outside my comfort zone. So I'll do that in the future. Any questions or comments, any stuff for future videos you guys want to see, definitely let me know. And again, links are down below to all the equipment. Always helpful, again, if you like the video, subscribe to the video, and also share the information. Thanks again for watching.